Well, hello, this is Mr. Kays, and today we're going to talk about the development of England and France into modern nations like we know it today. In the Middle Ages, you have many different kings of many different kingdoms in that area, and slowly but surely they're going to form into one big honking kingdom. Well, let's talk about England first. England absorbed many invaders, many ankle biters. For centuries, England was invaded by Germanic tribes like the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, the Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes. In fact, the name England comes from the word Angle land, the land of the Angles. That was a tribe. And they're going to be united by King Canute. You don't have to worry about his name. But I want to talk about Alfred the Great. He's an early English king, and he ruled from about 871 to 899. Now, that's not too awfully long. It's about 28 years. But what makes him great is he's going to repel or turn back Viking invaders. The Vikings were used to attacking people who could not fight back, like monks and monasteries and unarmed people of the villages that were along the North Sea. Well, Alfred the Great put a hurting on the Vikings and turned them back, and that's why he was called Alfred the Great. The Norman conquest. We have a key figure here, William the Conqueror, who was a duke in Normandy, the northern part of ancient France, and he is going to fight the Battle of Hastings. He's going to bring his troops across the English Channel, and at the Battle of Hastings, he's going to fight a rival for the throne. The rival's name is Harold Godwinson, and Harold is going to take an arrow in the eye, and he dies, and the battle goes against Godwinson's troops, and William the Conqueror becomes the hero of this battle. By the way, at the Battle of Hastings, it's the last time successfully an invader has invaded England and gotten away with it. So that's about 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years. Others have tried it, but William was the last one. Now, William is going to set up his rule. He claims all of England is his personal property, and he's going to divvy out grants of land called fiefs, F-I-E-F-S, to his 200 lords. So they owe a personal loyalty to him. Later on down the way, Henry II is going to be an important character. He is going to strengthen the royal courts, and he's going to help create the body of common law, so you have a stable English government. Eleanor of Aquitaine is his wife. She was a widowed French queen who owned a kingdom in Europe. And by marrying her, he is going to inherit her property. So England will have land claims on the continent of Europe. By the way, Henry and Eleanor are parents of two future kings of England, King John of Robin Hood fame and Magna Carta fame, and Richard I, who is also known as Richard the Lionhearted in the Crusades. Under the idea of monarchs, nobles, and common law, Henry, well, as I said before, strengthened royal courts and helped to create the body of common law. Now, enter Henry's son, King John. Now, King John was a real lunkhead. They called him John Softsword. He was an awful military dude, and he needed a lot of money to rule over his kingdom. So every time he needed money, he had the nobles collect more taxes. They got sick and tired of that. So King John lost most of his French lands to Philip II, and he was forced to sign the Magna Carta. Now, this is going to be an important document, the Magna Carta. In 1215, the Magna Carta, which means big chart or big paper, Magna, big, Carta or chart, paper. What it is it gave the nobles more rights to safeguard feudal rights. And it's going to extend to include no taxation without representation, the right to a jury trial, and protection of law. You couldn't just make up a punishment and say, oh, I don't like you, so you're going to put you in jail. You were protected by law. So King John had to sign over some of his rights to the nobles. in 1215. He was not happy to do it, but he's thinking, man, they're angry. I'd rather be king of something than a dead king. So he was forced to sign over his rule. And you can see a picture of what that might have looked like. You see a bishop there, you see the lords, and good old John that's really not happy to sign this. So in the field of Runnymede, there is the signing away of some rights. So England never has an absolute ruler. The law was higher than the king, and that's an important thing. In addition, the nobles set up advisors, and this was going to become Parliament. Parliament is a group of nobles and commoners that advised the king, and they met fairly regularly. They met for the first time in 1295. And this model parliament is going to serve as a model for later models too. So anytime King John needed money, he would ask Parliament to collect the taxes, and if they said yes, that was okay, and if no, he had to agree with their decision. So it looked like Parliament would be able to clip the wings of the king. Now let's turn over to the French. The Capetian dynasty rules France. Now, we had the Carolingian dynasty under Charlemagne, and the Capetian dynasty is going to start when you've got France, not as one kingdom, but 30 feudal territories in France, in Europe. And they were separate kingdoms. Enter an undistinguished duke by the name of Hugh Capet. He is going to begin the Capetian dynasty of France. And later kings down the way are going to expand their territory. And also expand their influence. Now, Hugh's territory was not that big, but it's where it is important. Hugh Capet, his territory was right along the Seine River, and Paris was right on the Seine River. So Paris is going to become an important center for trade, and that's going to give him a lot of power or influence. Philip II is a descendant of Hugh Capet. Philip II is going to expand his power in the fact that he regains land from England under King John. Remember that lunkhead king? He's going to actually rip land away from England, and he triples the land under his control. He could not take the land from Henry II, but Henry's son John, who was again John Softsword, was no match for Philip, and he's able to triple the amount of land under his control and establish a strong central government. Now, down the way, Philip's son Louis IX strengthens the monarchy and the central government of France. And he is the same Louis who goes down on a crusade, I believe, to Africa. He was a saintly king, and later on in the Roman Catholic Church, they crowned him Saint Louis. Another descendant is Philip IV. He is going to include a group in France called the Third Estate with the First and Second Estates called the Estates General, and that's going to help increase royal power. Quite frankly, the Estates General is quite like the English Parliament, but they weren't consulted that often. In fact, it's going to be another 175 years before the Estates General meets, and that's during the time when France is almost bankrupt under Louis XVI, and finally Louis and Marie Antoinette are going to lose their noggins on the guillotine. That's for another time. That's down the way. Well, that's it for Chapter 14.3. This is Mr. K's signing out. Bye-bye.